University of Virginia exposed for $20 million annual diversity, equity, and inclusion spending on 235 staff, including a $243,000 a year equity czar who calls OxyContin deaths payback for the toxicity of whiteness. The University of Virginia spends $20 million a year on its 235 DEI staffers, including a woman who says the opioid epidemic is payback for the toxicity of whiteness, a damning report says. Let me turn back my background music on so we can, like, jam when I decide to breathe. Crack cocaine deaths are payback? Every death of a white person is just reparations for the harms that their ancestors have caused. If you are truly for the cause of DEI, you know, immolation is on the menu. You aren't overdosing by accident, right? Okay there, DEI agent, enjoy your fentanyl. Open the books. A spending watchdog says the flagship public college in Charlottesville drops $15 million on salaries and $5 million more in benefits to its diversity, equity, and inclusion team. They include Rachel Spraker, an equity and inclusive officer who calls Appalachia's wave of premature deaths a sign of white toxicity, and the school's diversity chief, Martin Davidson, who pockets nearly $600,000 a year. The university disputed parts of the report, but did not say how much of its annual $2.3 billion academic budget it spends on DEI. UVA's highest paid DEI staff. We got Martin Davidson, the Senior Associate Dean and Global Chief Diversity Officer, getting $451,800 a year. And with his pay and benefits, the taxpayer cost is $587,000, $340 a year. Holy shit. Holy fuck. The lowest paid person, Mark Christopher Jefferson, with $166,260 a year. Assistant Dean for Community Engagement and Equity. Hey, yo, what? Some of their fucking titles are crazy. ESG money will flow. VP for DEI and Community Partnerships. Senior Director of Procurement and Supplier of Diversity Services. What is that? What do you even do? What do you even do? That's $86,000 per employee at least? Yeah, that's nuts to me. It's very lucrative to be anti-white. It really is. Imagine dehumanizing an entire population. Very profitable. Adam Andrzejewski, author of the damning study, said UVA has embraced the divisive quotas of the neo-Marxist DEI crowd. Based Adam. Tens of millions of dollars in student tuition and taxpayer monies are flowing into promoting anti-American notions and radical philosophies that judge the color of one's skin instead of the content and competence of their character. For some, DEI schemes are important and necessary as they help to overcome historical racism and sexism and make it easier for people of all backgrounds to get ahead in schools, colleges, and offices. Unless you're Asian, then you're not minority enough. But critics say they're a form of reverse discrimination that blows back on straight white men. And this is exactly like reverse racism. And I remember when I was younger, I even called it reverse racism. For some reason, right? You're told that from when you're young that racism only happens against minorities and that it's reverse racism if someone's racist to a white person. It's not. It's all just fucking racism. Do not buy into them changing the definition of words. Do not use their terminology if you can help it. There's no such thing as reverse discrimination, and anyone like Adam, who's unironically calling this out for what it is as neo-Marxist garbage, would not be saying reverse discrimination. They would just be calling it discrimination. DEI schemes face a backlash from conservative legal action groups, especially those funded by taxpayers. The University of Florida this month terminated all DEI positions and shuttered diversity programs in the state's publicly funded education system in compliance with new state regulations. And this is a good thing. This is a good thing that this happened, unfortunately, because of what Bridge is trying to do, where they are eliminating DEI and trying to get rid of the officer positions so that they can make everyone in the company, regardless of your position title, push the ideology. it's going to make it slightly harder to root out these people. Because if you have a guy who's a diversity and inclusion officer, you know that you should get rid of him. You know that he is a bad faith actor. But if you have a guy who is like a senior partner of development and programming, that just looks like a normal fucking guy to you. How do you know which ones are the bad ones if they all have normal job titles? You try to be a nice person, but these people make you wish you had a helicopter. Adam, I'm just going to call him Adam because I can't pronounce his last name. Adam's report on UVA aims at a bloated DEI infrastructure about 4 times the cost of Florida's shuttered programs. He highlights Davidson, Senior Associate Dean of the Darden School of Business and Global Chief Diversity Officer, UVA's top DEI earner with an annual salary and benefits package of $587,000, 340. Why can't I say this? $587,340. That's like the 5th time I fucked up saying money. There's more than 3 times the salary of Virginia's Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, said the report. Davidson is the author of a book about diversity in U.S. institutions, in which he says they often fail to make gains. The second biggest DEI paycheck goes to Kevin McDonald, the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Community Partnerships, who takes home $520,000 with benefits, the report says. Other DEI bosses pocket upwards of $250,000 a year, a good deal in a state where the average living costs are a modest $48,000 a year. Researchers looked at the school's 2023 payroll file, taking the positions and salary and estimating an extra 30% in spending for benefits. They spotlight Spracker, a $242,840 a year equity and inclusion expert with a track record in controversial comments about racism in her native Appalachian region. Spraker spoke about how her community embraced white supremacy, yet suffers from the MAGA social ills that follow, rising rates of gun suicides and opioid overdose deaths. I grew up in rural Appalachia, she says in a video for the college's anti-racist table group. And we all know what anti-racist actually means at this point. White people are dying of whiteness too. The toxicity of whiteness, many of them were dying prematurely, also in their 20s. If we're going to call the opioid crisis white people dying of whiteness, are we then going to call black people dying of gang violence black people dying of blackness? Like, what kind of weird fucking word games do you really want to play here? Wouldn't really call Glenn Youngkin. Isn't that guy in his 50s? Ha ha. University spokesman Brian Coy spoke up for UVA's diversity efforts and questioned the report's findings. The study seems to count individuals who have full-time positions in non-DEI posts and then counts them as full DEI staffers. Oh, you see, this is interesting as well. This is interesting as well, because this is literally what I just said with Bridge, where they're trying to phase out the positions that have a notable DEI title to them and just make them regular positions. So this study probably came out and found out what these people were making with a side title of a DEI sort of officer thing. But that DEI officer title is probably going to go away real soon. Davidson, for example, leads DEI efforts, but is also a regular professor, said Coy. You know, my eyes are kind of fucking up right now, so I keep accidentally seeing that C as a different letter. Actually, these folk forget that they used to get punked by opiates back in the day. Look at Malcolm X having to detox from smack when he was on lockup. That's all like the CIA initiative pushing drugs into poverty neighborhoods as well. You're very white. Are you gonna die? Yes. Yes. UVA pays $1.1 million annually for McDonald and Davidson to sow racial division via their positions at the top of the DEI food chain. This picture on the right is not a very flattering picture. DEI's big bucks, that's how much money the DEI staff at UVA makes, funded by our tax dollars. Rather than 235 DEI employees, UVA has 55 dedicated DEI positions at an institution of more than 40,000 students, faculty, and staff. Coy declines to offer his own tally of the university's DEI spend, and Andrzejewski says his numbers are correct and that the school has consistently undercounted DEI staffers in presentations to the public. Taxpayers in Virginia and beyond took to social media to complain about what they saw as a wasteful overspend of tax dollars. DEI staff now make up more than 3.4 positions for every 100 tenured professors, according to a nationwide research by the Heritage Foundation. Holy shit. Stoking fears of a ballooning sector that some say is no more than a woke box-ticking exercise. ESL Foxley was strong today. And, once again, says his numbers are correct. They consistently undercount DEI staffers. We're not going to be seeing too many DEI titles on employees in the near future. They want to remove those titles so you have a harder time figuring out who is actually promoting this stuff. Because eventually, they're all going to be promoting it, and it will just become normalized. It'll just become normal.